I'm Debbie Godfrey. Welcome to the Positive Parenting Pep Talks podcast.
Today, I want to talk about teaching your child to set boundaries. And I want to talk about doing this by setting boundaries yourself. Because most of what your children will learn, they will learn by watching you. So setting boundaries is a really important aspect from very early on. Schools and other organizations teach a lot about setting healthy boundaries regarding our bodies, regarding eating, regarding who can, touch us and how we play, how we interact on the playground. All of these things have boundaries, especially because of the way our culture is these days. So we are getting a lot of education in this regard. So let's have some fun teaching our kids to set boundaries by us doing it. So notice when you have opportunities in your world to set a boundary in front of your kids. And I'll never forget this one time. This is a little bit extreme, but I was at Jiffy Lube and Michelle was maybe, 8 or 9 years old. And there was some guy there and he was a little weird and we were sitting, waiting for the car to get done. And he started talking to us and she's looking at me like, why is this weirdo talking to us? And he was just chatting. And all of a sudden, we went outside and he came out and he goes, would you like to go have lunch with me? And I turned and I looked at him and I said, no. And I just turned back, got Michelle in the car and left. And she's looking at me. She's going, oh my gosh, you just told him no. And I go, yeah, because I wasn't going to go have lunch with that guy. You just, if it's a no, you just tell somebody no. And I think many people, especially women and girls in our culture, learn to make excuses, learn to kind of hem and haw and say, well, I can't because of this or that, instead of just coming right out and saying no. And so I think that it's important to teach our kids to say no because we need them to say no to drugs, to say no to people wanting them to do bad things, especially when they're teenagers. We need them to say no to those peer influences that are going to be harmful to them. There is no way that they're going to be able to say no to authority figures or peer influences if we do not allow them training experiences when they're young. One of the problems is that we are the first authority figures. We are role modeling. We're training our kids in how to be around authority figures. So when we expect blind obedience to us, they're actually being trained to have blind obedience to authority figures. And there's been a lot of research done with the Third Reich and the Holocaust and how their upbringing as kids was a huge contribution to why they were not able to go against what they felt was a very wrong thing, very wrong behaviors to do. Many of them felt that, but they were not able to go against authority. And some of the research has led that back to their childhood, to their upbringing. So in this circumstance, again, I'm very extreme in many areas. I used to, when my kids were little, take them out the backyard and we would all scream no at the top of our lungs, just so that I knew my kids could belt out 100% no if they needed to. Now, that doesn't mean that they're allowed to scream no at me, in discipline situations or when I'm asking them to do things. But it's just making it acceptable, making it a possibility that if you ever get in a situation where you've got to belt out a no, that you can do it, that you can experience it. And so think about how can you set boundaries in front of your kids? How can you help your kids learn to set boundaries? How can you teach them to say no when they get into situations where they need to say no and be healthy, safe, self-contained, responsible, respectful kids. Have a great day. Happy parenting.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Positive Parenting Pep Talks podcast. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Debbie Godfrey, owner and founder of positiveparenting.com. I hope you'll go and check out my website and follow me on Instagram and let me know about what you thought about today's episode. Did you learn something new? Were you able to do something different with your children? Did you have a success story? Those are my favorite to share. Let me know. Contact me. I'd love to hear from you. And also, what future topics would you be interested in hearing about on the Positive Parenting Pep Talks podcast? Thank you so much for being here and for all of your support. Take care and happy parenting.